It's probably going to take a couple minutes for this to populate a little bit, but I guess we'll start with the simple stuff. I'm Tim Riley with Tyrant Slayer Studios. Thank you for joining us. This is Miss Erin Marie Olszewski. As you folks may or may not know, she served in the United States military. I believe it was the Army. Is that correct, ma'am?
Yeah.
All right. And been sent up from Florida by FEMA to assist in the COVID-19 crisis out there in Elmhurst Hospital, Queens, New York. And I don't know, I guess we should start with your military career. How long were you in the military for? What was your MOS? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I signed when I was 17. I was from a small town up in Wisconsin, and I needed a little bit of adventure. And I'm like, I can do that. So I signed. I told my mom, like, listen, you might as well start my time ticking right now. I'm going to do it anyway. So she did. She didn't want to, but she signed for me. And this was in January of 2001. So September 11th hadn't, happened yet. So I ended up in basic training in July, and, a couple months later, September 11th happened. And at that point, I knew that I was going to be, going into war. So I was in the Army Special Operations Command, specifically civil affairs. So my job in the military was to kind of keep the peace. I was like the liaison between third world countries and the United States. So I would go in, and what I did in Iraq was I worked in a lot of the hospitals, orphanages, schools. We were like the good guys, even though we were all, this was what was hard. We were the good guys there, but we were all in the same uniform. So, they couldn't just pick us out and, knowing what we were doing there. But, one of my main jobs was to help, restructure the hospital system, in Iraq, and get them the things that they needed in order to properly run. So I spent a lot of time in that. And then obviously there was a lot of displaced children in that. So it's kind of always been, it's always been some sort of helping role in the professions that I pick. I like to do that. It's what
it seems to be a part of your fiber.
Yeah, it keeps me going, it keeps me moving. Like I feel like that's my purpose, and so that's why, I ended up getting transferred down to Tampa, which essentially I'm from Florida now. I live here now, to work here, at the Special Operations Command. Did a little tour or stint there. And then I ended up getting out, and in 2012, I finally graduated with my bachelor's degree in nursing. So I've been a nurse ever since, and I've worked in a lot of different capacities. I started out on med surg floor, pediatrics at ICU. I worked pre-op, PACU, emergency room. So I've done a lot of different things, and I usually juggle 2 nursing jobs at one time. It gives me, I get bored from doing the same thing a lot. So I always have had 2 jobs. And, around the time when this COVID hit, we were sitting there, I was sitting here in Florida, like, what is going on? We don't have any patients. They're laying people off. We're trying to find hours any which way we can just to make our paycheck. And so, we're all like eyes on New York. What is going on? And so there's a travel agency. It's called Crucial Staffing, funded through FEMA, that, I was essentially brought on board to go and work in New York. And it wouldn't be like the first time I've been sent to a war zone. So I'm like, this can't be any worse than, what I've already been through. So, they told me get on a plane in 2 days and be here and get ready to work. So, yeah, that's my life in a 2-minute nutshell.
And that was a hell of a summary. What an amazing portfolio. You seem like a very busy human being, and a lot of people out there think you're a hero. People have been asking for you, screaming for you, and I'm glad to have you here. I'm grateful that you've taken some time out of your very busy schedule to be here and explain to the people a little bit about yourself and your experience.
No, I will come back anytime you want, and I appreciate you giving me a platform to tell my story. But I hate being called a hero, honestly, because at the end of the day, like I just did my job, and I don't
Right.
want. I didn't even like being called a hero, in New York. They would literally have parades for us, and I'm just like, this is what we signed up to do, and I never really understood it. And a lot of nurses didn't really like it. A lot loved it, but it just wasn't my thing. I prefer, I'm more or less kind of I call myself an introverted extrovert, because I actually am much happier just being at home and not, out in public doing what I'm doing.
Sure.
But I'm like, you know what? If it's not me, then who is it going to be? So it might as well be me. I don't know. But
Well, your message is very important. What you've disclosed, the nightmare at Elmhurst Hospital and the courage that it took to stand up and do that. Even just putting on a pair of spyglasses. I've got to ask you, the first day you walked into that hospital and you had those glasses with you and you knew what you were going to, the adrenaline must have been pounding but you were righteous for all the right reasons. You did what you did. Can you tell me how you felt and what that was like for you?
Yeah. I don't know if I talked about this before, but I got the spyglasses. My attorney dropped them off for me at the hotel that I was staying at, and wrote "Happy Birthday" on the package because it was my birthday. Because it was
what a gift!
Yeah,
that's so cool.
So I remember. Oh my gosh! So I remember going to get it because the package got lost. He's like, oh my gosh, did they confiscate it? So I'm looking around the hotel. Nobody knew where the package was. Here they kept it in a safe space that, because they knew it was my birthday, and I guess people were stealing packages. So I got it up to my hotel room, and even then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is actually gonna happen. So I charged him up. I read the directions, and I didn't even know that they made spyglasses, let alone now I'm gonna be wearing them.
I've been seeking a pair for a long time.
Yeah,
a good quality pair.
But I charged him up. There was it's just surreal. But I rolled into Elmhurst and I'm like, okay, here we go. And it was awkward because the on and off button was right on the, I don't know what you call it, the leg of the glasses. So you could, if you touched it, it would vibrate a little bit. And I was worried that people would hear that.
Right.
So I ended up one of the very first days that I got in there with them, I caught that DNR, when they weren't coding that full code patient, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally just did that. I captured that, and I'm like, that's if I got kicked out today, that would be enough. That would be enough to just blow the whole system to, the cover off of everything. But I ended up getting a lot more. But that was pretty surreal. I never expected myself to, be in some sort of weird, it's I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone already. And now
almost, it almost,
right,
I kind of got that sense for you when I was watching the video. You did the interview in Times Square in the Marriott Marquis.
Yeah.
And in that particular interview, I saw the disclosed footage from those spyglasses, and it was just riveting. I was like, oh my God, she must have been, the adrenaline must have been going. It must have been so hard to maintain your composure and professionalism while doing that and just be undetected. So kudos to you for that. I mean, that's a big endeavor there. That's a big thing.
Yeah, it was just definitely stressful, but I'm like, you know what? I gotta do this, because if I don't, this is all going to get covered up and no one's ever going to know about it. And that's exactly how they wanted it. So, I mean, I don't think I was ever part of their plan.
Right. Now, in your time in the medical industry, have you ever come across anything like this at all?
No.
Right.
No.
And now, do you, obviously, I would assume you do, but I can't answer for you. Do you feel differently about the medical industry as a whole now than you did, going into this? Like, what have you come out with? If there was something you could summarize about the healthcare industry, the medical industry, if you could summarize what your takeaway is in the aftermath, what would that be? What would you say to the listeners and the viewers?
You know what? The day I started like my very first nursing job, like I already kind of figured out that it seems to me that they're intentionally keeping people sick. I mean, the majority of my job, even like my first nursing job, was on a med surg floor. It's just any patient really that gets admitted for multiple different things. But I mean, I would be passing 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 meds 3-4 times a day, and so that was, I'm like, I am not helping these people. And half of these medications, they shouldn't even be taken together. And I'm sure a lot of listeners are going to be like, yeah, my doctor put me on these medications that made me even sicker, but the thing is, there's nobody questions that, so on a good day, it's pretty bad. But now throw in a pandemic and then take away all family members out of these hospitals. That created a huge problem. And moving forward, families should never, ever, ever be banned from being inside with their loved ones, ever. Like, my argument for that is, if the PPE was good enough for me, and then I can take it off after work, and then I can go to Walgreens, which I did in New York quite a bit. The Walgreens and CVS, those are the only 2 stores open. But I would, go into these stores and go shopping. So why couldn't family members gown up in the same exact PPE at that time?
Right.
We had enough. We had enough to go around. There's really no excuses for it. So, yeah, I mean, people just got to be able to kind of look past the white coat and really look into money. Right. A lot of it is money driven, and just follow that, and find yourself a good provider that listens to you. And if they don't, well, you got choices. Find a new one. And that's important, because people, I think, from this whole entire situation, hopefully people learned that, it is important for them to advocate for themselves and for their loved ones, and to make sure that, they do demand the best possible care, because not everybody in our profession is in it for the right reasons. I mean, some people are in it for, job security, good money, not so much patience. And I'm not saying that's everyone, but there's a large majority that, are in it like for that.
Now, there are some naysayers. You've become very popular since you've broke all this information. Yeah. And there are some naysayers. I've watched your critics, and they're just kind of off the wall bonkers. I don't want to say one guy claims to be a doctor. He seems more like an online entertainer to me than he does a doctor. But, you have some naysayers out there, and I'm just wondering if there's anything you would say to the people that, are just making any outrageous claims. I'm sure you must have seen some of the things, about, oh, she's anti-vaccine, so she's a Looney Tune, or she's, she's not a real nurse. I saw that video. It's totally, a fraud. And to me, that stuff really is sad to see. To me, it's a symptom, of a larger problem that we have at hand, or a contributing problem. One of the problems we have today in society, I should say, would be a better way. But is there anything you would say to these folks? There would be no reason for you to lie. There would be, this book is essentially to help educate people. I'd like for you to spend a moment talking about your book as well before you got to leave. We're going to buy 12 copies here. We're going to support your cause. We're supporting your message. What you've done is very noble and very courageous, and we're with you 100%. If there's anything you'd like to say to get anyone who's skeptical to maybe come take a look at things, have at it. The floor is yours.
I expected those critics. I mean, you got to have critics, or you're not doing something right,
Right.
So
I got my first death threat yesterday.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I mean, you know what? We joke about it, but it actually, I mean, some of these people are pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But, especially like the naysayers, especially these doctors, that haven't actually been in front of a patient in, who knows how long. I mean, I was there. I was there. I was with these patients, holding their hands when they were dying. I was with them, praying for them. I was with them when nobody else was allowed to be with them. I gave them that final, like, you know what? I care about you. You matter. Even if it was, they didn't know I was there. And, anybody that says that I'm making this up, or they try to use the excuse that I'm an quote anti-vaxxer, and I really am an ex-vaxxer. My son could have died. Actually, all 3 of my kids have medical exemptions because of vaccines. So I have been very outspoken about it, because I do think that it's up to a parent to do what they want with their children, and they deserve to know the entire truth about this, not just like half truths like they're trying to, push off in this whole COVID thing. They're doing the same thing with that whole racket. The vaccine manufacturers aren't liable if something happens. I didn't know that as a nurse. I was mad. I did vaccinate my kids.
Yeah, you have to sign. Yeah, you have to sign the waiver, if you will, before the pediatrician administers.
Yeah. So, you know what? I am totally open about it, and I'd love to talk. I mean, I love talking about it. I think that you should be able to have an open discussion about anything. I saw people being murdered in New York. Yes, I saw it. I recorded it because nobody else would believe me. And even with these recordings, they still don't believe it.
Then that's shocking. Shocking.
You know what? I'm not the only nurse. You got Nicole Sirotek. She's another nurse whistleblower that was there in New York. And guess what? She was at 2 different hospitals than I was. So between us, there's 3 different hospitals doing the exact same thing.
Wow. And they can't be the only ones. This can't be the only. This is not an isolated thing, I don't think.
Well, if you look at all the hardest hit hospitals, they're all public hospitals, that are already like scratching for funds, that, they're poor. They're serving the low income minority.
There's motive.
Protesting, this is the majority of these patients were Black and Hispanic.
Right.
Medicare, Medicaid patients, poor people.
With no family, with no voice.
And just completely just being disposed of as if they're just another number. And that is sickening. And as a nurse, it's my job to be an advocate for that. It is actually required of me to be a mandatory reporter when something ethical is happening. And I didn't try to go up the chain of command multiple times. I recorded all those conversations too, because I figured no one would believe that. And no one would listen. So you know what? The next step is to contact an attorney, go through whistleblower protection, and start getting some video. So you know what?
We're so proud of you. My wife and I were crying when we saw your video.
God.
Yeah, we cried, and I was like, we've got to try to contact her. I thought there would be no way to get a hold of you. I thought, you would have a new identity. You'd be buried in some bunker in an undisclosed location, completely safe. But we found you, and I'm glad to have found you. I was like, you know what? I never actually just typed your name in Google to see what came up. And that's how I found you, through Facebook and stuff. And I'm glad to have found you. It was riveting. We were shocked over here. And for you to stand up and do what you're doing is all the more reason to support your message and have you here and help the people who aren't necessarily paying attention, or who might be skeptical, or who just want to hear from you and get more information. To be here and get that with you is amazing.
No, I appreciate it a lot. And I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but the way I went about this is I knew that video was obviously going to come out. But in the meantime, my attorney and we sent it to multiple different mainstream television shows. He had the contact for Tucker Carlson. So, we gave him the video before it ever aired. Because for a whistleblower, it's very dangerous. I mean, they go missing, right? Suicide. Mm-hmm. I mean, so I had to go mainstream like immediately. So after my video went out 2 days later, I was on Tucker Carlson because I had to, because it protected my life.
I've seen the interview of you.
You know what I mean? So had I needed to get on mainstream and get it out there and get my face out there so people knew I existed. Otherwise, I don't know if I would even be here right now. And like,
right. That's a very fair, speculation.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got 3 kids too, I mean, they're not in the best situation themselves, having me be such a...
Now you mentioned your son almost died. Can you touch on that a little bit? Yeah.
So he was 12 months old. So, ever since he was the baby, he was very, they called it colic. From the first day of life. But, and I was comparing it because we have an older son who was, totally opposite. So it didn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. Had he been my first one, I don't know if I would have had any more because I would think that was how babies are. But a lot of people don't realize this, but on the very first day of life, they're getting the hepatitis B vaccine, which is actually an STD. You get it by having sex or using dirty needles. But they're giving it we're one of the only countries that actually do that on the first day of life. And it makes no sense, first of all. Second of all, it removes any baseline. So he wasn't just born like that. I think that, him specifically, he has, an anaphylactic reaction to vaccine. So that was the very first, at birth. So that was colic. And every time he would get more, it would get worse. And I'm
right.
This is not normal.
You have to follow up on that one like 2 weeks later or something, right? Isn't there an additional shot that comes along with that hepatitis shot?
They do a vitamin K, which is, it's technically not considered a vaccine, but it still has very toxic ingredients in it, Right, okay. So, but by the time he was 12 months, I mean, he had not gotten better. I'm talking my husband and I almost got divorced multiple times because it's stressful in a marriage too. You have a baby, 24 hours a day, he's not sleeping, and you don't know what you're doing wrong. So at 12 months, that was it. Like I had started spacing them out because like my motherly instinct was like, I don't know. But that one shot, that was it. And he, because he was walking right around 9 months, taking his first steps already. So at 12 months, he was, running. And that was it. He stopped all of it. He stopped talking, walking, everything. I mean, he regressed to a complete newborn, just blank stares, just like,
that's
I didn't
terrifying.
even know my son. And
did he go in for 10-month inoculations? He was on the regular schedule of, okay.
I mean, I was spacing them out right around that time. So I would go in more often to get one at a time. You can't space poisons when your kid is allergic to them, but so that's what happened. And I ended up, I mean, it was years. He's gonna be, oh my gosh, 8 in a few months here, but it took me years and a lot of out-of-pocket money and expenses. I had therapists coming to my house 3 times a week to work with them, and nobody admitted it until they did, until I could prove it, and because of that, yes, he has a medical exemption. And I don't think that, these people that are trying to essentially gaslight me into, making me seem like this crazy, anti-vaxxer, dangerous person.
Right.
They weren't there,
it's totally unfair.
Yeah. And I'm not that person. You know what? I just really want people to be able to have all the information they deserve to make a good, educated decision.
My wife and I say that we're not anti-vaccine, we're pro-information. And sometimes just getting that information from the pediatrician or even a nurse, when you just ask for that, they get very obnoxious in many cases, and they become very condescending. They feel as if you're questioning their due diligence, if you will, and not the actual information. you're not taken very respectfully as a parent. In my experience, when you're just asking for more information, you often get ridiculed and treated poorly. Yeah,
I mean, I've seen it, and you know why? You know why that's happening is because in school, that's what we're taught to do. There's literally courses in nursing school how to proceed with a parent that is against vaccines. Like they literally have a course on how to deal with those kind of people. And I was like,
a pediatrician told me that our twins, before they turned 3 or 4 tops, she said, would be dead if they did not get the DTaP vaccine that day. She wanted to give my kids the DTaP, the MMR, and something else all in one day. And I was like, no, I don't think we're going to do that. I'll make note of what you would like to do, and I'll look into these things, and I'll decide if we're going to do that. And she got very obnoxious with me and insisted that if we didn't give them the DTaP shot, that they've already had it, it's already in their body, and it was going to go up to their brain and kill them before they. I was like, and what are the chances of that? What's the statistical data? Like, is there a peer-reviewed study? 100% chance. And I just looked at my wife. I was like, come on, let's go.
Well, you know what? That's incentivized. I cannot say that word. I was in another interview and I cannot say that word. Incentivize. Yes, is that it? Yeah, but I mean, they get paid for that. They get kickbacks.
It's okay. Yeah. That's right, and I don't have any proof of that, but I can come out and make a blog about that or make that statement, and I get attacked and ridiculed just for even going down that road. So I can't imagine the troubles that you faced as a result of this in some regards.
Yeah, they have to have a certain percentage of their patients that are up to date. And that's the thing, like, and this is what was happening in the hospitals that, nobody's listening. So like you're questioning your pediatrician and you're made to look like you're crazy.
You got it.
I'm in these hospitals in New York questioning these doctors. Like, what are you guys doing? You're literally, that you're putting these patients on vents and 100% of these patients are dying and you're just doing it anyway. I mean, That's literally the definition of insanity.
And there's other alternatives, right? You're doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And
I'm crazy,
Right. And you're right. Isn't that amazing? It's so telling of society. It's very scary. And you have 3 children. We have 5 children. Our children are the future, and it's really scary what is going on. Like, even just thinking about what's going on with public school this year and things of that nature, it would be great to get you back on to talk about vaccines in school and what you've done as a parent to better prepare your children for education and what you're going to provide and things of that nature. I think that could be a useful conversation for people, very helpful. And people will listen when you speak. They've been dying to hear from you.
Yeah, that's where I'm going right after this. I'm going to meet with the
you got it.
Principal and the vice principal. And with the help of Dr. Judy Mikovich, she sent me a lot of good information, and hopefully, and the principal seems really open about this. This was with forcing children to be in these masks. But because they're open, they're listening to me right now. They're like, yeah, I want to.
That's good.
So let's see what happens at my school. And I'm really, really hoping that this may be a catalyst for the rest of the schools throughout the United States to use a similar thing that I'm doing.
We certainly hope so here.
But I'll keep you up to date. It should be hopefully a good meeting. I don't know. I'm giving them the science, and I am going to ask them, like, who's going to be liable if something happens to our kids? Like, it all comes down to money and it comes down to liability. And we need to talk about that. Liability is a big deal. It's a big deal. It was a big deal in New York. It's a big deal with this whole vaccine
especially when the state is involved. In fact, we were just reading into a situation here, the legal language behind the distance learning aspect of the school year this year. I'm not sure if they're doing it in Florida, but here in Connecticut, it's, half of the school 1 week in the school, and then they alternate. That same half stays home the following week, and the other half of the school goes into school. Now, when the students are home doing homeschooling, they're considered state property. And there's a whole bunch of legal language that's rather terrifying. I won't go into it right now, but it is very terrifying what the state is trying to do. And I think the security flaws and the security exploits behind Zoom and some of the more common streaming things for these students to use, are a serious problem, overlooked. Yeah. Like this school year is going to be a nightmare. I foresee a nightmare coming out of this.
Well, I feel terrible that, and not
the masks is one thing.
You know what? It's just removing parental choice.
You got it.
Under the guise of public health.
You got it. And the attempt is so obvious, and it's so I think so insulting to our intelligence. It really is.
I think people, even the most cynical people that probably, try to, put me to shame, or try to shame me or whatever. I think that even that, like, they're questioning it. Like, come on, you guys are flip-flopping and nobody knows what's going on. And now it's at the expense of our children. So, it's cool if you want to mess with adults, but when you come after our children, get ready, because like those mother bears and fathers are coming out and you're mad, don't mess with our children. That's
my wife is a warrior. She's a lot like you in that regard. Never mess with the woman's kids ever.
No, seriously. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of upset mothers. So I hope that, today is a good meeting and
we wish you the best of luck over there. Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to say about your book real quick? I was going to put it up on screen, but we're kind of pressed for time. I don't want to make you late. It's 10:00. So, you've got to get going over to that school, but, real quick, if there's anything you'd like to say about your book.
I guess that Cuomo has a book out now too about how he did everything right, and he advertised it the same day that mine came out. So it was out on the 18th. It's the Undercover Epicenter Nurse, but it is the truth about what happened, what really happened in New York. And if you're interested in it, then get it. And and share it with other people, and just hang on to it, because it's history documented that may be buried one day. So that was the drive behind writing it, and I'm working on book 2 right now to follow up.
Excellent, most excellent. We will certainly be looking forward to that, and getting our copies as well. Is there anything else you'd like to say to any of the viewers? I know the viewers were going to try to get some questions in. You're kind of pressed for time, so
I'll come back. We can talk again, but
right on. I was hoping so.
I just want to say thank you to everybody for supporting me and fighting alongside of us. Because at the end of the day, we got to protect our country and our kids' future, and that is my number one goal, is to make sure that our kids, when we're no longer here, don't have to fight for exactly what we're trying to fight for right now. It's just it's really sad that we're in this type of a situation, but together enough of us can honestly stop it, and we can create a good environment moving forward.
United, there is little we cannot do, and a host of cooperative ventures.
Yeah.
John Kennedy, the late John Kennedy. So, Erin, Miss Olszewski, thank you very much for being here. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing around the country and for the world, for that matter. Good luck today with the school. Fight for those kids, and keep safe. We'll be in correspondence, and I'm overwhelmed with joy.
Okay. Yeah, me too. It was great talking to you, and say hi to your wife from me.
Yes, ma'am. I certainly will do that. Bye now.
Bye.
All right, folks. So that was Miss Erin Marie Olszewski, a very bright and very talented young lady, a very strong-willed nurse, a very good human being. What more can anybody say about her? Give a round of applause to Erin. Thank you very much for being here. This is my first live stream. I'm a little nervous today, as you can tell. I do hope you tune in for further interviews with Erin. We will be covering her book in depth, going over it very thoroughly, taking a peek inside we'll take a look at some of the media content she's got floating around and review some of the interviews she's had on mainstream media. Stay tuned for some audits. I've been revamping the studio, been doing some work around here, been a little slow going on my channel, but the studio's almost done. I got a new studio I've been building, been slinging the paint on the walls, the whole nine. That's almost up and running, so stay tuned for that. I'll have some good regular content coming out on a regular basis, and I'm pleased to bring it to you. There's going to be some follow-ups, one of which is kind of important. It's regarding the criminal investigation involving that marshal at the courthouse on 101 Lafayette Street, Hartford, Connecticut. I was a victim of simple battery there. The man battered me right there in the courtroom. Moments after the judge left, I'm seeking the courtroom video of that, so I can go ahead and post that right here for you to see the crime take place and his destruction of evidence, which is a felony, by the way. I'm not so sure things are going to work in my favor with that trooper and the ADA violation, but I'm not so sure they're going to work against me either. That right now deserves some attention. I just haven't been able to put the time into it. I do have 5 children, as you have heard. And there are some major things happening here, so I'm a busy guy. Bear with me. In due time, I never forget about anything, and I will handle everything. Yeah, my wife is going to start auditing. Keep an eye out for her. I think we're going to run with Lady Paparazzi. That's a channel name idea we got going on. If any of you guys would like to leave a comment in the live stream about what she should name her channel, you're more than welcome to do that. We'll rummage through them. I'm sure we'll get some funny ones. She's eager to get out there and audit the town of Columbia and find out where the waste is and begin her path in local public service. Hey, if you haven't seen it yet, check out Jersey Watcher. I did a video for him. I think it's titled "This Guy's an Absolute Savage." Take a look at that man. He's colorful, to say the least. Very animated. He's fighting the good fight, and he does it his own way. He's very distinguished. I can't say a whole lot more about him. He's just, he's very entertaining, and he's pretty straightforward. So give that guy some love. Let him know that Tyrant Slayer Studio sent you. I've been watching some of his things, and it's just great. Very refreshing. I understand he's got a campaign going for public office out there. I believe it's education oriented. So check the About section on Jersey Watcher's channel. If I had that cool software going right now, I'd be like, oh, just click the link below. But I don't have any of that stuff right now. Still growing. I got to thank the community here. We're almost at 45,000 subscribers. I figured this channel would be in the infant stages right now, but it's grown tremendously over the last 3-4 months. So I can't thank you folks enough. Six Banger News, congratulations again to Six Banger News. He had been the winner of our GoPro Max Auditor Bundle giveaway. And we're looking forward to seeing him produce some good content and produce a good audit and keep his town clean of them tyrants. So Six Banger News, if you're watching, we're looking forward to seeing some of that awesome video. And if you have any needs or you need any help with anything, you know how to reach me, man. I'm always here for you. I think we're going to give away another camera pack, another bundle when we hit 50,000 subscribers, I guess. So if you're in the live stream now or you're watching this video later, leave a comment for Erin, a question that we can ask her next time, and we'll go ahead and try to get that up and ask her for you. And for doing that, leave a like, subscribe, hit that like button, share the video, and you'll get your chance to win a GoPro Max, nice little backpack. some spare batteries. We'll hook you up with a nice little bundle, a couple, 2 or 3 things. Maybe we'll even get the Tyrant Slayer Studio logo embroidered on this stuff for you. Something fancy, schmancy. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love. Stay tuned for some great content coming up. I'll see you guys in the community. Maybe I'll see you in the streets. We'll talk to you.
Okay. Be quiet. Be calm. Name? Frank? And press affiliation. Nothing else.
Chopped the goddamn head off right there in the parking lot. They got all kinds of holes in her and sucked out the blood. They were after the pineal gland, I think. Yeah. No, how'd your mama?
Nora is terrible drunk. Yeah. Pretend it's not happening. Okay. Be quiet.
Take.
Be calm.
Take.
Name?
Take.
Frank?
Take. Take.
And press affiliation.
Take. Take.
Nothing else.
Murder sins. When she was about 16 years old, they chopped her goddamn head off right there in the parking lot. And they got all kinds of holes in her and sucked out the blood. They were after the pineal gland, I think. Yeah. No, how'd your mama?